Good day, I'm Damon, and today I'm going to be explaining 3 types of cutting: slicing and hacking, as with a knife or sword, sawing as with a saw, and heat cutting, or soldering. Cutting with a knife is the most basic of the 3. It uses the idea of cleaving or pushing material to the left or right of the blade, such as here you can see that the only forces acting upon both the blade, aside from frictional forces, between the blade and the object is at the point of contact, or the tip of the triangle. Now, because of this, it doesn't take that much to cut, because you're, again, pushing both left to right, you're splitting it. Here, my grandfather attempts to cut a box in half with an axe. Needless to say, it doesn't work. Why? Because the box is capable of folding in on itself, thus increasing the time of the impact. Because of the higher time, or the larger amount of time it takes for the collision to occur, it causes the box to, rather than getting cut, get crushed. Here he is using a knife to cut a piece of paper. This isn't a collision though, this is a clean cut. So what's happening is as he's slicing it and he's moving it through the paper, it's pushing with equal force along both sides of the paper, and it's splitting it in half. The second form of cutting, known as sawing, is used for a material that is either too large for a blade or too strong for one. Saws are serrated. That means that they have sharp little teeth on the edge, where normally a blade would have a sharp edge. They have little teeth. The teeth dig out chunks of whatever material that they're cutting through, and continuously eat into it until, of course, it either cuts through material or one of the teeth breaks. Interestingly enough, sawdust is wood, if you're cutting wood, that was extracted out of the path of the saw blade while it was cutting the wood. And in case you were unaware, if you put the length of the uncut wood next to the 2 pieces of wood that you cut, if you stack them together, the length difference between the original and the cut will be the same length as the saw blade. Here, my grandfather is cutting a piece of metal with a saw. It has numerous little teeth that it uses to cut out, and you can even see some of the metal pieces of metal coming off of it as he attempts to cut it with it.
You can't kill the metal. The metal will live on. Punk rock tried to...
However, when he uses a wood saw to cut it, it doesn't seem to work. It just scratches the metal without actually cutting it. However, if we switch to wood and we use a saw that's meant for cutting metal, it doesn't do a very good job of cutting the wood. But if we use a wood saw to cut wood, you know, it's pretty effective, as makes sense.
Here's my second plan. Back in the 60s, I developed a weather-changing machine, which was in essence a sophisticated heat beam, which we called a laser. Using these lasers, we punch a hole in the protective layer around the world, which we call the ozone layer. Slowly but surely, ultraviolet rays would pour in, increasing the risk of skin cancer that is, unless the world pays us a hefty ransom.
The last type of cutting is not the coolest one, but rather the most scorching one. It involves heating up, yeah, or raising the temperature of an object until it can be easily snapped or melted. Here, my grandfather is using a blowtorch to raise the temperature of a piece of metal wire in order to pull it apart. Well, this isn't actual cutting, the idea of it is used in quite a few places. Several of the ways that people use this is to cut complicated patterns in sheet metal, or something of that nature. Or it's simply just an easier way of cutting metal, because you don't have to saw it or do anything. And it is called cutting even though it's not, because if you look at the aftermath of it, it looks like something you could do with a knife or scissors. To cut away from here, I must say goodbye. I'm happy you all saw this hot video.